Hello, galactic travelers, cosmic crew. What's happening? I know you guys love that. It's so funny. Y'all actually talk to me that way whenever I call you guys. You're like, "What's up?" So, I wanted to do a live just to get this information out quickly. Today is the 13th of December, so it is a 1213 day. Hey, Fifth World girl. Woo! Fifth World, check out her channel. She has amazing video edits, number one, which I'm gonna be hooking up with you, girl, for reals. And but she's oh man, she's tracking the stars, and you're gonna love this, Fifth World, because this is StarSeedology, and it's talking about the bloodlines and those connections that she's capturing in the comets and the stars and the alignments and the sun are all the things energetically that we as beings are maneuvering right now, and actually is the completion of this process, and she's capturing them. So check out her channel. I want to say real quick, this is what we're going to be talking about, okay? Is the bloodlines and um just all the akashic information that has been coming in the past 3 days. My mind is about to blow up. Are you guys feeling this? um so I've got so much that really is linking everything together. And so I want to start with the bloodlines, because if a lot of you are finding this channel right now because you're following up on RH negative information, welcome. That is how I started my journey, and how this channel and how this information linking your starseed DNA and starseed origins, understanding what that is, and then understanding, the where you come in timelines in this dimension, really assists us in understanding where we are. And so a lot of that leads from just knowing that you have an Rh negative blood type. And so, first of all, welcome if you're getting this video because of that information, and we're going to talk about that. But this is way more, because we're a community. We've all come together and found each other, and we're starting to find more and more of each other. So, this channel is full of healers and ascended masters that are way showers, that are starting our journeys now of doing the same thing that I'm doing right now on massive levels. And I want to just add some of that right now, because in the past couple of weeks, a couple of crew members have just started doing YouTube videos, which is a big deal. And I want to, and not just YouTube videos, but a lot of us are stepping into our missions, and rediscovering all this ancient information that we have, and how it can be utilized to assist us in the collective, and we're stepping in and launching these things. So um tag it on the comments and put information below. I mean, this goes outside of just YouTube videos, but I just want to acknowledge from the crew, Intuition Goddess. She started out doing card readings, and now she has basically a channel like Cosmic Christie, explaining the shifts and from her perception, and it's more of an angelic energy. So check her out, because she's talking more, about the bodily things, and just has a different perception. Amanda, that I talk about all the time, that I do a lot of energetic work, and who's my sister, Mandolin started doing lives. She has more of a nature perspective of sharing her thoughts, and what's going on real time. And then Cassandra from Rebel Humanitarian, and she's doing starseed readings now. And she's got on her channel at Rebel Humanitarian, she's doing Monday Meme Day, and she's doing Wednesday something, and so she's going to start doing more interviews and things. And then I just wanted to point out Katie Indicrow. I don't know if she knows about me, but personally, but energetically, Lisa Transcendence Brown and Katie Indicrow have joined, and they're building Soulify, and they're doing a lot of energetic stuff, kind of like what we do here. And so, we're supporting each other and coming in at different ways in this divine plan. So I just wanted to plug those real quick. So check them out, because I've been listening because it's helping me. Y'all are helping me, as when I can't be here in front of you guys, because we're all going through this transition at the same time as everything's happening, right? And listening to you guys on your channels is really, really helping me get through my shifts. So I want to thank you, and let me know if there's more that I'm missing. Hello, everybody. All right. So that being said, I want to talk about, so StarSeedology is not, just the sessions that I do. It's I want to talk about when I awoke and I was activated in really in May of 2017. Now I know, that I was going through all these shifts, since basically like 99, but the big spiritual awakening, that all these other planes of existence, and that I embody so much more than just this physical Christy, the sun and the moon and energy, all of that didn't come in until May of 2017. So and then for me, it all came in at once. So the Rh negative factor in my blood was what I searched out first, because and it's meant to do that. And this isn't, and I want to make sure everyone understands. There has been this, and I want to make sure that I'm writing the now. Rh negative doesn't make anybody better than or more powerful or anything. We were all bringing in different Akash within this dimension. Okay. And so there's some of us that held more of it, but then it was also those that, were being uh, manipulated and controlled by the faction, right? If you will. So, and then that's kind of how, everything ended up messing up. But it's in this now, because this is, you know, the change of evolution. I mean, within the human DNA, creating, a reality and age dimensional shift, ascending the sun and all everything in the galactic arm, if you will, of the tree of life. I mean, so the Rh negatives, it was like when I first woke up in May of 2017, there wasn't there wasn't that much information on it. I have a video on this channel that had 8,900 views, and I was just then understanding what it was, because there definitely wasn't a breakdown in the blood type. I'm telling you this because at the same time as I'm digging in, because I'm also adopted, and at this point, I didn't know who my birth father was, because I legit skipped timelines finding out this information, literally, and also doing research, because everyone I talked to, as I was learning astrology, and the first thing I learned about astrology when I woke up was about my starseed points, because I was linked to so many, you know and there was a reason that that was the first report I ever had done, right? Because we're all just bringing in and making connections to these things in order to bring it into a human experience and merge all these different points. So then as I was understanding astrology and I was starting to attempt to read other people's charts, and then whenever I started offering sessions from the very beginning, what I was also doing was supporting a lot of the RH negatives that were coming to me, because it's a frequency thing and we're going to talk about that. So in the beginning when I first did them, I was getting, a lot of negative bloodlines. So then I was able to correlate the starseed points that they had, with their blood type. And then that's when I started seeing the connections with what I also knew galactically was the entire creation of the human genome. Because when we talk about the blood, we're only talking about the human. We're only talking about, this one specific piece. So it all linked everything, started linking everything together. And then as I was moving up in consciousness, and this again is just because of my DNA, and this is what happens to all of us. This is what we talk about whenever you're getting your Akash back, because this is just basically my a lineage of mine that has all of this DNA back through the culmination of. And so since I understand that and I'm aware of that, and I've been coached, at these bigger perceptions, then I can link it all in basically. Hi Lisa. So that is how StarSeedology started. And then, it became a whole lot more because you guys are guided to me for different reasons. But when we talk about StarSeedology, it really is the psychology of a new galactic human. It really is the psychology of your starseed points and your DNA, because when we talk about you're in the shift that we're in, and in the community, you hear people talk about templates and shifts and DNA strands that are changing, and all of these things. Well, those are literally kind of like gears in the human body, and we all have specific gears that are at specific frequencies that legit dictate what lessons we're here to learn, and are also, you know, at a karmic race level, right? Because it's like that's your intuition, is to react maybe. So, because you have more of an animalistic instinct. So if you come from that lineage, when you come into this dimension, then, what you're doing is experiencing that aspect of you, so that, you don't do that. You don't react. So you've been yelled at a lot, and you've had a lot of people in your face, you know? So as soon as you recognize that, then and say, "Okay, wait, I've already learned that lesson," and you give love to it and release it, and that's what we call clearing, then you shift out of that mindset, and then you just kind of go to a bigger perception. And I know this is a lot of information, and I know a lot of you also tell me, "Look, I'm just listening right now. I don't totally get it, but I hear you." And that's important, because it all goes back to the energy. So back to, because you're getting the information, because the blood really is the energy. Our blood, and it's always been the blood wars. I mean, it's all about the blood. I just had a little timeline trip about vampires a while ago. So it's all about the blood, and because the blood is energy. My son said something to me just out of the blue. Rex did the other day that really blew my mind, and it was, "Hey, mom, why does a live body weigh less than a dead body?" Right? Because of our energy, because of our soul, because of our true essence. because of our the blending of our energies, and right, I mean that's what we're clearing, and that's what we're moving up in higher dimensions, right? And so that's we're becoming lighter, right? And then to know that when you take the ash of a mummy and of a bone, and you get it to a specific, I forgot if it's pH level or whatever, that there's still energy in it, because energy really doesn't leave. Energy really, when it comes here, energy doesn't leave. It polarizes until it's blended, but it doesn't leave. So, when we talk about us being our ancestors, I mean, really, let's think about that, because that is what I'm saying. Because whenever we link back to the blood, that energy that came before you, that came before you, that came before you, that was all at your genetic imprint, which this goes back to the DNA body that you're wearing. But then now what I'm saying is that we're linking the two together. So because all those energies now have linked in from generation X, and that's when the RH negatives came in, because it we really are time travelers. Okay, the blood evolution goes like this. And what was interesting is when I wrote this up here, I was guided to do it this way, and then, it started unfolding a little puzzle. So you had the A line, which is Adam, right? Which is B, which is Adam, which is animal, which is matter. Okay, so it was like the first, that fight or flight, that lower instinct, that what we would call a lower frequency, but it's also the matter. It's how we exist in a body in this dimension. Okay, because this is a dense dimension, we parceled ourselves off. That's the point. This is what I'm going to get to, because all of understanding this helps us put it all back together again, because we're like seeds. It's like a germination of a seed. And each one of us came in as a whole seed, but each one of us came in at different parts of the germination. Whenever we grow and sprout, it's all back to what that original seed imprint is. However it germinated and sprung out, it's all coming back to one. So the A and the B, the A is more of matter. The B was made from the A. This is where the story of Adam and Eve even came in, because Adam, and this is where Lilith comes in, because Lilith, if you will, through the mythology of all the stories that are linked together, and which there's truth and lies in all of them, but the basis of all the story, you find common themes that just go back over timelines, excessively so. For real. So I mean, we're talking not even human, we're astronomy, then it goes into the gods and Zeus and do 70 CE. So that B, so if I'm sorry, going back. So Lilith, if you will, was like Adam's equal twin, right? Because that's polarity in this dimension. That's what creates the magnetism. There's a positive and there's a negative. Always. That's also the alpha draconic DNA template that is the template for the human genome, that allows for the third eye, that allows for the pineal gland, that allows for the vagus nerve, that gives the attachment to the earth, literally, which then has allowed us to ascend the earth with our bodies, right? Which is all energy transmutation, is what we've been doing. I mean, so this is all the history of the blood, okay? But Lilith was like the original seed. That's why she wouldn't be subservient, is what the story was, okay? So let's just metaphors, right? So she wouldn't be subservient. So we had a bunch of alpha males running around, female and male. Okay. So why? Because they were more matter based, low frequency. Because in that physical body, they weren't able to connect to the mental thought. The brain hadn't developed enough through the species. Okay. So the B was made from the A. Eve was made from Adam's rib. She was more docile. She was, if you will, from the A and the B perspective through a timeline historically, the best way to describe it through the races was Joshua and Mary Magdalene. They both had, the A was the Joshua line. He had the matter. He had the connection to the physical earth in order to the connection with the earth to transmute it all at the same time. That's why when he said that this was going to cleanse and everything and the people and humanity, it did. Okay. Well, Mary Magdalene though had the knowledge, the intellect, the knowledge of energy and her Akash that was more the galactic perspective, which was more collective consciousness, right? So she's learning lessons down here too, but they're it's like the 3 and the 6. So they needed each other in order to manifest mana and do all those things. But whenever their bloodlines mixed, and then that was huge, because when their bloodlines mixed, then that created, a, an energetic being that had the ability to do both, right? So in that story, that's kind of like where the A and the B come in and how the AB was made. And one is A in numerology, B is 2, and then we have AB, which is 3, which also puts us in somewhat of a Fibonacci sequence, right? Because it's still 1 plus 2, 2 plus 3. It would, in the Fibonacci sequence, 5 would go right here, which is interesting, right? Because this is where the change happened. So we had the A and the B and the AB, but we still weren't completely because we had all these different bloodlines of all these different, because each one of these were made up of different origins, right? So they were all blending at the same time. As was also karmic, that was linked back to galactic lineages, okay, that formed on these two sides, as well as karmic debt of those races that came in on more of the human earth plane, okay. But what you start noticing, and what shows this to me, even in the astrology and the starseed points, is when you are an A or a B or an AB blood. So negative or positive, I'm talking about just in general, right? And separate from an O, there is a difference in um it's almost like it's a difference in the the criticality of your lessons. See, and this is the same thing with RH negatives. So it's a great way to bridge it, meaning, because the O was made is basically the hybridized AB. So it's like this one merged to its best, this one merged to its best, then they took both of those, made this one, because then it was connected energetically to all those. And then from that one is wherever the O hybridized blood was made. And this is where, through the creation story, really from the star perspective, where more of the alpha draconic zeta reticuli got involved more with the DNA process and started blending, to create the O. That's that's why the AB, whether negative or positive, is the universal plasma donor, and the O negative, okay, is the universal blood donor, because the O was made by the O negative through the Y chromosome. So, if you will, that's when this seed was split. This is when the splitting started happening. And the Rh negatives then created the O bloodline for the entire human race, okay, which is 85% of the masses right now. So this is also where we start seeing in the O, which because the O negatives brought in more blended starseed templates too, because this seed, the original A's were basically like your mad gorillas, and your original B's, if you will, were like your etheric fairies, so each one had to learn had the karma of the instincts of the opposite, because everything was polarized, had to be cleared, and then that's when the AB came. Well, the same thing goes with the star races, and again, it's linked to the energy, and because when you look at alpha draconic energy, yes, it has that, it's that rage and those types of instincts, and fight or flight mode, which is why we are programmed that way, because we are, and we have a physical body that we have to take care of, and we are a mammal, but it's also shifting out of the perception that we're still so much an animal, because it's like, when you're an animal, you can't get too far from your house because you've got to get back home. Well, that's really not true for us now, right? I mean, there's somewhere else we could stay. We don't have to go completely back home, right? And so, but that's also matter. That's how that energy, that was the how everything was connected. I hope this is making sense. So basically, when the zeta, through the galactic, when the zeta reticular alpha draconic, because in the beginning we were all in this together, right? And what was is really tripping me out too is that the research that I've done, that that I've been reading up on the past 3 days, has been on the root races and HP Blavatsky, which I had never read before, because I awakened so quickly and this knowledge just started coming, and I've been connecting everything in StarSeedology, and then when I read this, it like filled in all these blanks. Because within the creation process, also remember, we weren't always human like this. I mean, when we think about like Lemuria and Atlantis, those are two different timelines. Those are two different beings, right? We can't think of like just humans with a tail on their cell phones, because the planet wasn't even as formed as it is now. I mean, it was etheric based. We weren't in an animal. In fact, the first beings on the planet were actually aquatic animals. Okay. So this is water based reptilian, right? So I mean, um because it all works together. So those star seed points, aren't just dealing with what we would consider these galactic beings. They're galactic beings that are connected to specific elements that were needed on the planet and within the human genome in order to make these templates that we all have in our body lock in and basically turn on. So when you come in with a full A template or a full B template or an AB template, everything's just a little bit more guns blazing at you for one specific, there's one specific thing. So whenever you see O blood, yes, it's not to say that they don't have hard times by any means, and they're all learning their same lessons, but it's typically a little bit about everything. It's not like this is your lesson on money and power. It's like this is your lesson on money, power. This is your lesson on sex. This is your lesson, right? I mean, you get a whole bunch of them. So which makes complete sense in the evolution of the human because then it's like this blending allowed us this Y chromosome is an Rh negative factor. This was brought in by the zeta reticuli, and the negative is basically just the Akash, the ancient either future or past, because that negative could be that you're in from a future timeline, and we had the Rh negative. It has copper based blood. So the Rh negative, if you will, we incarnated in this particular timeline, which is why there wasn't a lot of information about it. And because it was first discovered in and called indigo children. Let me add right here that it's very important in this from this date, and actually a couple of months ago, but for real, by this date, the Rh negative gifts are now, because look, the Rh negative just throughout evolution procreated into other bloodlines to the point where it made the full flip, which means that all the recessive genes of the Rh negative bloodline are now activated in all of us, no matter what blood type you are, because that's how it works. And that's what I'm going to keep explaining from the energy level. But I want to add that there because this is about all of us. It's basically like look, if you know Rh negatives like myself, freaking give us a round of applause right now. Because, legit, we had copper based blood. And so in this dimension, we were bringing in templates from higher dimensions. Okay. So, a lot of us have, because we have copper based blood, that only means that it's, from that. I don't want to say original consciousness, but it really is. It really is. It's back to that original source energy consciousness. But the big deal is that we were just bringing it. We were just vessels holding that. So it was like our whole lives, especially in this time, because, this goes back even to the energy on the planet, because we incarnated with a very high frequency in a lower density to affect the change in the matrix. This is why we had so much coming at us, because we legit were there to disrupt everything. We legit were there to create a new path. And depending on the lineages that we came from, so then those were quite powerful lessons, because that was quite powerful energy and gifts that we were bringing in. So it's like we had, and this is for everybody. Okay. This is what everybody is doing. Every soul on this planet is doing. But I'm explaining from the Rh negative perspective. So that's why, you've lived, and this is for mega star seeds too, because it's still the energy. Your blood just has those different frequency levels, and so it's where are you locking in to this energetic forest, right? How is it affecting How is it affecting us? So anyway, it gets super, super interesting with the why and all of that. But I was going with Lemuria because they think what came up, which I don't have all the answers to by any means, but I want to poise for debate to the crew. What came out of that too was a few things. Number one, it was predicting what's happening now with the sixth root race coming out of America, which, it's described as, seven root races and seven rounds. And it's basically, the tree of life, which I want to get into because it basically rolls into all of this other stuff. But it's saying that, in America, that's where the sixth root race will come, which is the galactic human, which is happening now, which is pretty interesting. Okay. So I wanted to add that. And it's like it's different dimensions because we all really are set on different dimensions depending on like the time zones and things that we're on. We're coming out of that, but we can't just have those constructs of time just disappear. However, all of this information, no matter how you perceive it, is helping you get out of that illusion. So we're all connected, see, at this blood level. Well, basically, the X generation was the X generation. So in order to get even before the star seeds came here, right? Then the energy source, and then Christ is, the matter that's born from it. So when we talk about even the process for us incarnating into this lower density with higher energy, there was a solar flare that happened August 7th, 1972. By then, by 1968, 69, there were over 80,000 of us. This was RH negatives and star seeds. A lot of you are in the crew. I talked to you guys. I mean, we didn't. Some of us knew, some of us didn't know, but that's what we incarnated for. But a lot of the pure energy of a lot of the galactic frequencies were the indigo children. The astrologer started seeing the six empty houses in the astrology chart and started calling them indigo children. Well, that was basically the RH negatives and the star seeds that started incarnating from, because we basically from the future, if you will, if you think of it linearly, because we had already lived so many lives, we had already mastered so many houses, so we had all these stelliums, and we were bringing in very specific energy, which is basically then how this breaks down into astrology and how we're charting the shifts in the collective and how this is all culminated to this point. But in Lemuria was when we added and I've always known that's whenever we added the matter to the etheric, right? Because that goes back to the first root race of Lyrans, because that's just an etheric basically being. It wasn't a body. It was male, female, all blended together. It was just an energy source. Lyrans, when they started breeding with more matter-based beings, then some were more fish-like, like the mermaids, if you will. Okay, but also fish and different, right? And then there's also lines that went off into more reptilian and blah, 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 right? Okay. So what happened when we took on, according to H.V. Blavatsky, is that in the third root race of Lemuria is when the mindless were created. And what it describes is that when we took on the matter and then we had sex organs and we were wanting to have sex, and right? I mean, because we can't blame them. They didn't ever have bodies. I mean, that's what this has all been about. So, but what it created were the apes. So when that walked on all fours and that were hairy. Okay, so that ended up being a huge genetic error. And this is why these theories all came about human evolution that we came from the apes. Well, we're connecting it back. Now, what we're seeing is no, actually, the apes were created from the human, which is why the genetics is so much the same. And according, so, okay, so that happened, and there was a genetic split. Well, then, even in the fourth root race of the Atlantean time, this kept replicating. It's like they couldn't, they, even though they had more intellect and intelligence, they didn't care. They went ahead and were mating anyway. I mean, any of this sound familiar? So so then it kept replicating to the point that, according to H.B. Blavatsky, in the fourth root, which this all makes sense from what I know too, in regards to Lyra, and then how Sirius was involved with making these original beings, because this is how we start talking about the germination. It's just we're all seeds, dimensions of us. That is Starseedology, and it's also the timelines and the dimensions that you hold the Akash, you know, and understanding that you can have the Akash of all of it, but you just all we all start at bringing in different levels of it. Um, so anyway, we appeared in, so the solar flare came in, okay, and then in 1972, right, when that solar flare came in, is then when a lot of us that had these templates, these future templates. So, like when I talk about my chart being the divine feminine chart, that's why it is, because it's really like that is the template, with those starseed points. And whenever I look at starseedology charts with you guys, I know all of you know that I tell you when you're a template. It's like because we were merging in all these different frequencies, because it all had to have a common denominator, which was us. And the only part that mattered was that we were having the human experience. So then all that knowledge is then available on this dimension through us, literally. And then those waves then of energy, then every 9 years we were getting a pulse. Okay, so this is connected to the planet, because we're energetic beings. I know it's perceived that our skin is solid, but it's really a bunch of cells that are moving at a rate. How fast are they moving? Well, that depends on your your DNA. It depends on where you are in your spiritual process, because remember that live body weighs less than that dead body. So it I don't know. What are you capable of connecting to? Well, then that's wherever you really start understanding, because the the RH negative, it was like the role was to just get here. The role, if we just got here, then it was okay, you're there, the energy was coming out, and this was all of us, okay. But the RH negative was just this culmination point, which happened with Generation X, and which is why we've seen such vast changes since 1972. I mean, 1972, they didn't even have a way to set up adoptions. I mean, think about it. We came in, we didn't have any places to live. We were all orphans, because that was the template. Hell, we had to start getting our ass kicked by the time we got here. This is why, if you're an RH negative, you've had a bunch of abuse, you've had a bunch of shit, and you've had a bunch of manipulation, straight up, because we were always creating this, which is why we were targeted so much. Okay, it's why it was coming at us so much. We were always creating. This is important to remember for every single one of us. We were always creating. We just didn't know that we were. And so we were being controlled to create what they wanted. Those of us that had more ability, no matter what your freaking blood type, I'm just telling you how it connects into the human genome. But what I'm trying to show you is that it's all connected back to one source now. So the duties and then once you master that, though, it completely shifts. And because then and this is once you master, anybody masters it, right? Once you master it and you ascend the judgment and all of that, and you understand why the hell it was happening, and you get in touch with the higher aspect of you in doing so, because you have to look at it from this perspective so you can understand what I just said. So whenever you activate up here, then and you start understanding it, then is whenever your whole life up to now becomes like a guide of what's going to happen next. And it's like a video game that you've already played and you've got your ass beat at it, but now you have some hidden tricks up your sleeve. And it not only do you kind of know what's going to come, it's not going to be the exact same experience, but you know now what the signs are. So it's because you're stepping back in to that creation. So when we talked about this, the recessive gene is activated in everyone. And this is how we made it to this point. The reason that the planet is still here right now, and it is not, we did not all blow up like all the prophecies of pretty much every ancient text said we were, is because of the RH negative and Starseed mission. Because on so many levels we came back, and the reason is because our frequency was needed in order to bring a new human genome that could connect. There was so much manipulation that was done in the human templates. We needed very, very high density, which is why we're doing such a serious reality shift right now. It's going to be this quantum leap. But it was connected. But understand that, I mean, this is galactic history in the making. This has been the human genome that made the X, which then is what brought us to where the energy was right on the planet, and the human DNA had been cleared, and we connected to the plasma, because whenever the AB enough of us AB negatives were activated, and we had enough of that Akash on the planet and it was activated, then that's what started causing the chi. And then that's, now we're all connected through the plasma. And this is how telepathy and how this has always been done, right? Because it's energetic. But we know that it's just that our energy is up. Well, your energy is your chi. This is where we come into different types of energy, right? There's gamma rays, there's alpha rays, there's beta rays. You seeing A, B, ba ba ba. There's Omicron, there's Xi, Z, Zomicron. Okay, so we look at the numbers 1, 2, 3. We look at six is O is a 6, X is a 6, Y is a 7, and Z is an 8. Z is the completion of the human genome. So what we're doing is all of us have these different dimensions of ourselves, because the energy never leaves the planet. So when we come back in, now that we've cleared our emotional body enough, because you got to clear out the distortion, you got to make sure that you understand what's coming in. You can't have judgment, because there's some crazy crap that's gone on that you're going to get some downloads about. You can't have a reaction. You can't attach to it, because sometimes it's just for us to, like, clear it, right? But you have to get to that point. Once you get to that point, then that's whenever you start, really working with your guides, but just and connecting with your different starseed beings. But these are just energy that was always coming into your field, that you're processing. It's just now your body's getting to the point where where you can connect, which is the only reason that I receive more information than maybe some at this point, because I'm an AB negative. So that's that plasma, that frequency. So I'm just in that, I can grab higher dimensional information in certain areas, but in this now, but that's changing, right? I mean, so it's all energetic. So the M on this side is more of the, what did I do that? What did I come up with M and AM? What is that? This was more of the 6, so if you think of this then grouped together, then again, this is what starts happening. Here's the O, here's the Y, then these are 2 different energy frequencies that are then forming together, which is the 2 circles, which is basically what's happened in evolution, is that we're merging the past and the present together, and that is literally also, the Libra and Arcturian energy, and because that energy had to get here. How could that energy get here? Star seeds incarnated with basically in your astrology chart, and this is a lot of people have this programmed in their chart, but I'm trying to backtrack how this even came in. Is every thought that we have is going through masculine. We have divine feminine thoughts, and everything's running through a masculine feature. So our whole life, is balancing those two. Or we're all earth and we're always water, I mean, whatever. We're always balancing those two. Well, once we have that experience and imprint that, then we're able to then bring in, the vibe of being able to do that easier. So, you'll see in people's charts that they'll have two complete trines in their chart, and one has a point that goes to their Mars and the other has their Venus. That's because, they're learning that lesson of divine feminine, divine masculine, right? Well, that's literally this the blood is just the energy that's in your body that then's triggering off our AI galactic human bodies, right? And so, we're just now really getting back and understanding what all we can control and what all gifts we do have with that, because this is where the shift and the information on the planet of what's coming, and the propaganda is what I just keep hearing. The propaganda, it gets real tricky, because because you have to be able to discern, because everything that now I'm going to start describing, with being hooked into the plasma, is an organic process of ascension, right? It's kind of like we came from the ants right here, but we were ants and we were all connected, and we were fish and we were all connected and we were working together and we float around really easily, but we didn't have a personality at all, because we didn't have any individuality, because we didn't have the function to be able to have one. Now the galactic human is connected at that ant level, okay, when you want to be, which you want to be. Plus, you can't get connected on the ant level until you release all your crap. So, so whenever you get over here, it's like we individual expression of that. That is a perfect way to describe, the full circling of the evolution to a galactic human. So, understanding that for everything that's organic, there's something artificial that's popping up to try to distract us. So, and because we're in the matrix still on some of these concepts of perceptions and the consciousness, it's being twisted. So, like the plasma and the chi and the akash and the DNA, that's all part of ascension. That's how we're connected on an energetic level. But there's other misrepresentations that means that you're downloading your soul to an artificial intelligence or something. You see what I'm saying? It's like every so I just want to put in consciousness that when we're listening to messages, and this is from even people that we know are giving pure messages, when you have these alarms coming up that, wait, that's not quite right. Well, just be aware that there's an artificial and there's an organic, there's an artificial and an organic to each, and discern which one is which for you. Okay. Um, so the plasma, which is the 9, which is the chi, which goes back to 3, 6, and 9. That's the activation within the vessel to fully connect. It's also linked to the linear shifts because your body basically has these gears in it, and as they and we just put in a brand new gear, and so now it's fueled up and it's spinning, and so it's like you're melding all of these energies together within your heart space, which is how you operate the galactic human. Okay, not the mind, but the mind helps you see the switch that needs to happen in the heart. Okay, because it is energy, but it's all energy, it's all your engine. Again, there's a false, there's an organic, and there's an artificial. So when you where those so these gears are getting turned on, which is then turning on a broader frequency, which is then pushing up to different dimensions and aspects, literally. Like last night when I was dreaming, what I was seeing was our balls were just kind of bouncing in and out of timelines. They were just like bloop, bloop, you know because also, we're riding, this is when we start talking about these waves. You're riding these waves because the energy pushes you up, and so it's like whether you're sleeping or you're in your physical, you're kind of planning out, and then when the energy comes down, it's discerning, what am I supposed to do now, but it's based on energetics and how our bodies relate to the energetics, which is the blood wars, which is it was always about the blood, and for to keep a secret that we could control it, that it was living within us, that it had knowledge. If you even, I mean, there's been massacres within the human race over eons of time where people were drained of their blood. Do you ever think, I was always watching that old stuff and I was like, what the hell? Why'd they put leech on them? That just doesn't make any lick of sense. Well, then it was all because they were trying to you take out the blood, then you're draining that person of their Akashic memories. I mean, and these weren't just any people, these were like kings and the sons of kings, and they're just right. That's what all that was about. So now we're reconnecting into our higher dimension. So how I describe this, and I'm at an hour. Whew, are y'all doing good? How I describe this real quick, I want to talk about now I want to talk about how I recently described this to one of the crew members is we're the seed and it's germination process. And so this is from a human, you being your human seed. This is also humanity as a seed. This is also earth as a seed. So whenever I hold up my fist, I'm in representation. I forgot I had this. I'm in representation of this seed right here. So basically, hold on. I have visual props. Hoot hoot. I have visual props. We'll just take these off. Oh God, they get kind of hard to take off though. Woo. Okay. Here's Earth. Okay. Let's say the green is Pleiadians. All right. Earth is in the middle. Our soul seed is in the middle. Humanity. Well, we would say that the Pleiadians seeded humanity because they're the green right on the outside of their dimension, right on the outside of Earth. So they seeded humanity because the Pleiadians, are actually the culmination of all the dimensions that existed before them, just like I described in the blood, just like I described in the blood. So if we put on some time between the Pleiadians and Earth, then we're gonna see out here like Sirius, Orion, Lyra. Okay, they all merged together. Different energy was coming in, and they vibrated and merged and created the Pleiadians, and then the Pleiadians seeded humanity. Okay, so if we keep going from this outside ring, then we see the other layers of the seed, and then that's where it starts going, into the archangels. Because again, those are 4 points, just like I described. Those are 4 galactic points where it's like it was plugged in and we were fueling the galactic energy, okay? So those are the archangels. And then if I keep going, because I mean, those archangels were formed by galactic beings. I mean, hell, Antares is basically just a galactic port. I mean, we don't even know what's even on the other side of that. We just call them Antars, but it's basically a port, and it represents the lower frequencies of those galactic races. Okay. So then that's whenever we start getting off to Alpha Draconic is shit, 706,000 miles away. Okay. So it's an ancient one, right? And Cygnus, which is the light etheric, which is basically Regulus and Formal Hot are made of. Okay. So are you seeing? And so when we think about our seed, and we think about and knowing all these timelines that have been getting thrown into your awareness, and the weird events that are popping up, and or in your dreams, or God, you know, I've heard some bad things too happening that people weren't aware, that when I found out what happened in this timeline, it matched up to an ancient timeline and I could see the replication, because when you're aware of all that, then you're able to call bullshit on it. Be like, no, my seed lineage isn't going to be, the sacrificial lamb for the earth anymore. No, I'm calling it on my dharma, right? So no, I'm not going to sign up for that again, but I tell you what, let's do it this way this time, right? That's these different dimensions that you're locking into, because it's like we're these seeds. And if then this really links us back, to the the Sophia and Gaia connection, because when we not only did I do all this research with HB Blavatsky and the root races, then I've been, gosh, I went through the astronomy of all the star seeds again, and now knowing what I know, I mean, I took like 13 pages of notes, through the history of these star points, okay, and very and specific ones, because the stars were formed, and why this is important is because those stars were formed, and when they were first seen by a human, when they were first seen, it was because that's when they were first made. The stars, as above so below, were the representation of new energetic connections on earth. So that's the stars link into your blood and vibrate. It's like I call it having a reflector. You've got like a reflector that's pointing directly to whatever star race energy that is, and it's coming directly into your field. So, right, that's it's cool. So it's like when we go and look at Centauri AB, for instance, I'm very Centauri AB is linked to my lineage story because of the AB negative. But it's like, I know that star, when Centauri AB originated in whatever timeline that was, then that's whenever that DNA was originally blended on Earth. It's actually crazy, which is how Beltages ends up, because this is the Sophia story. Because when we came in this density, which is basically what StarSeedology is, we fractaled ourselves off. we fractaled ourselves off, but more so it's like we had to we were able to program our energies, you know, by our weaknesses to play on our strengths. So we parceled our energies off to learn these lessons to blend it, right? Because now the planet, since the precession of the equinox, and this is what everyone needs to, I'm reminding everyone of this because, you know, this is the huge switch and people forget about the precessions of the equinoxes. We legit took over the planets, and the planets, we're our DNA is of the starseed template, the original Elohim template is guiding the planets. Because again, it's as within, so without, as above, so below. It's like from a being Big Bang perspective, when Sophia, a complete galactic human, came in, or not a complete galactic human, but a complete being came into this density, then all these different aspects exploded out, and if you will, they've been warring over each other, and so now we're just bringing them all back in, and it's like we're stepping back into our full dharma now, because remember I said energy doesn't leave the planet, there it was just polarity of it. So you know, all the suffering and that your lineages and the people that humanity, that all of us have endured, if when we untrap our mind and we let it in and we release the baggage and the trash from all of the experiences that led up to it, then we can start they can start writing their new chapter. And as soon as we do, then it's all these, it's our dharma. It's the polar opposite of whatever trauma we went through, however dark it was, however whatever it was, we have the opposite energy of that existing in this other realm, and we're just basically rewriting our story back into it, depending on where your seed, like when we do a starseedology reading, or you start understand, right, depending on where your seed is kind of what's coming up right now, you know, which is why for me, I've been at this ancient root race and doing like this major genetics DNA stuff, and you know, but for some of you guys it's been on like more of a Nordic timeline, some of you guys, right, but because we're rewriting the full circle of your story right now connected to your original seed. We're writing it back in. And this 1221, I mean, holy mackerel, 1221, that's the solstice. That's, I mean, the divine feminine chart, which is my chart, which we, you know, with all that Libra energy. And this is back to, you know, me able to discern and teach this was from all the data that I've been working with you guys to be able to explain it. But, oh, I lost my train of thought. Ooh, man, I'm kind of tired. I just lost my train of thought. So with Chiron direct, that's a big deal because when Chiron went direct, especially for those of us who have Chiron retrograde, it's Chiron retrograde is normal for us because it's like we're used to rewind because you know we were here repeating a bunch of stuff, bringing information. So when so you know, being on rewind and kind of like gathering up all of our ancient knowledge felt right. Well, whenever Chiron went direct, now it's like, all right, now what are you going to do with it? Kind of pushed us out the door. And that's really what the past few days have felt like to me. Um, the other thing is uh this 1221, I mean, we've got Mercury just went into Sagittarius right now. Um there's a huge this is just such a huge shift. I don't wanna get off all in the astrology right now, but it's a 1-2-2-1 portal. We have Jupiter and Mercury are gonna be conjunct on Antares, which is just a massive galactic portal dimensional opening. Um, Saturn is like freaking on my MC right now with my Jupiter just went into 10th house and I mean it's like and that's the divine feminine seed, right? And so it's like I can see it unlocking with everyone. It's like just hold on. Just hold on. I know you guys are getting synchronicities probably off the chain and your card readings and everything that are just like just chill, it's on the way. We're here, just relax, it's on the way. And it reminds me of when you're 9 months pregnant and everyone's like, the baby's gonna come, so relax right now. You need to rest right now. But they didn't remember what it was like to be 9 months pregnant. And like at 9 months pregnant, you're like, I can't even sleep, I can't move, I can't breathe, I can't eat. Like I just want this baby out of me right now. And at the back of your mind, you're going, no, but don't come out too soon because it needs to be ready. So that's where we're at right now, right? We're in this like holding pattern, but realize too that all of this is what's going on. And so whenever we spend 3 days, doing mounds and mounds of research, I mean, man, there's so much more in all of this. It's crazy. Some of you guys want to have me on your channel or something and discuss it. It'd be easier that way. I mean, because it links all the root races through the astronomy of the star systems, through the DNA of the human, through the timelines. I mean, it's just freaking mind blowing. But whenever some of us are spending 3 days doing this, although we feel like we didn't do anything, what we did was we helped link back history together and create a new one legit because of this, because we're all interconnected now and we're all creating. And so different ones of us are just putting these things together. Um, Yesterday at 11:46, was guided to call in a timeline shift merger, and more karmic releases again. And it was a 11:46 timestamp, and I watched it turn 11:47. And I've also had some calls today, like Joyce called, she's seeing energy vortexes. I have had like some inklings that there's a timeline change that might be happening. All in all, I've been guided just to stay put because there's so much changing right now, and just kind of wait and see where things are just switching right now. So just make sure that you're focusing on that highest timeline of whatever, calling in that highest timeline, and then really just discerning and be good to yourself and understand that no matter where you are in this perspective, we're all just a reflection of one another. And whenever we talk about these templates and we talk about, what does that mean as far as your experience? It means that if you have an Orion template, that you pretty much have learned the same lessons as every other Orion template and the ones that created the template. So if you've all had the same experience, same lesson, it might have been a different experience, but it's the same lesson. Whenever we understand that about each other, then it's like it's so easy to drop judgment, which is why there has been every artificial way to keep us from knowing about it, which is why everything that could be done about changing our languages, the technology, the geographic gridding, where we lived, the energy on the planet that was allowed, the human genome that then was per nationality, that was programmed with specific energies on the planet so that it couldn't evolve, and there were pieces missing within the energetic frequency of all the different nationalities, so that we were all programmed to butt heads. It was all so that we could not see that we were all living the same experiences and having, but as a human, we were so scared to tell anybody that all this was going on, and it was a hidden secret, and so we weren't communicating with each other. Well, it's down to the starseed it's down to the starseed energetic points and your overall energy frequency that you came into this dimension with. So, whoa, woo, that was a lot. I call in the highest timeline of all dimensions, of all space and time in this now, and I ask for this energy to merge in beautifully. I call in the Coco, I call in Creator, I call in all the ascended masters, I call on the guides, I call on all the angels, I call on the angels, I call on the Coco and all energies to open and intertwine and create a beautiful flow of energy that at this point, and any energy that was given to this live video and all time and all space and time, no matter when you watch it, is connected to and delivering divine feminine love at the highest light quotient to bring balance within the collective for the highest consciousness that is possible. So it is. Saka oshike esidiki isika oho de esika ada ashindiki isidiko oshine ana atako o. Esidiko oshindika adeko oshindike sikika adeko oshindike tika adeko oshindike sikika adeko oshinde anda ando oshini ana awani kesini indika sino oshindike asini ina o oshini nika o oshini asini asini a wani sini. And so it is. Bye. I'll talk to you guys soon. Love you. That's our mother. Should we wait and see if anyone else comes? Let's see. Y'all want me to see? Hey, Nikana Sinun Oshinika Asini Hano Honi Hisini Hana Hini Hini no Honi Hini Hana Hana Ho Kaka Ishiniki in Hona Esinika no Oma Ashini Bot Muone Sini Anakana Sini Ana Ayan Hanasini Kono One Hasani in the Kono Oshini Anakana Sini Ashini Atuko Otikiri Sini ini Ano Oshini Anikini Isini Oshini Akini Aho Ani Hari Sini Ihi